Alright guys, so today we are upgrading our storage. ORICO were kind enough to send out their IG740 Pro PCIe Gen 4 M.2 and this is a 2TB version, and I'm excited to be doing this video because I really could do with more storage. So when ORICO reached out and asked me if I wanted to check this out and review it, I thought why not, let's do it. I've never reviewed an SSD before, but you won't know until you try. So that's exactly what this video is about today. We're going to be checking out this drive. I'll also be showing how to install it, and then we will be checking its performance when we're in Windows. Now this drive features up to 7,400 megabytes read speed as well as 6,500 megabytes write speed. And as of making this video, this can be found for as low as £97 on Amazon, and I believe the actual standard price of this is around £117 for the 2TB version, but at the moment it is on sale on Amazon for £97, which is an absolutely amazing deal, and that's very competitive with a lot of the other high-end PCIe Gen 4 drives. So let's go ahead and unbox this SSD, see what's inside the package, and then later on we can talk more in depth about the different specs and features that this has to offer. So inside of the package you do get one little M.2 screw, as well as some sort of manual, and inside the actual package you get the 2TB SSD. You even get a little precision screwdriver, as well as that you do get a little heatsink with a little thermal pad as well, which will be convenient for those of you who are using this on a cheaper board that doesn't have a built-in heatsink for your SSD. And like I said, you do get a little precision screwdriver. You actually get this on a lot of their models, so I will just show you guys something. This is one of ORICO's Gen 3 drives, and this is the only reason I heard of ORICO in the first place, which was quite ironic when they reached out to me. But I picked up these Gen 3 drives for around £42, which are ideal for budget PC builds, and that's why I bought them, and that was the first time I had heard of ORICO. Now for this SSD, I feel like for most people, if they're spending nearly £100 on their storage, they most likely have a somewhat decent motherboard that has built-in heatsinks. Usually motherboards that are over £100, £150 tend to have their own built-in heatsink. Even with the AM5 boards like the MSI B650M Gaming Plus Wi-Fi, which is quite a budget board, it does have its own heatsinks. So I would say if your motherboard has its own heatsink, you probably won't be needing this, but I will just put some photos on screen of what I mean by heatsink in case you guys don't know. But if you are using it on a very budget board, or maybe you bought a pre-built in the past and you're just upgrading the storage and you don't have a heatsink, then the heatsink provided will at least help a little bit with the thermals. But I do think that it's a nice feature that they've included the heatsink as well as the little screwdriver. This is so you have everything that you would ever need no matter what motherboard you have. But I don't think it's entirely necessary for a so-called industry grade SSD, because most likely you're pairing this with a motherboard that does have its own included heatsink. Now moving over to installing the SSD, I'm going to show you two examples. But this motherboard did have a heatsink on there, you can see it here, but like I said, I just connect it like this. So if your motherboard looks like this with no heatsink and you can see the SSD slot or the M.2 slot just open, then all you've got to do, obviously I'm not going to be putting the heatsink on because this will be going into my main PC, but you would need to put the heatsink on. So how you would do it if you were using the heatsink is you would put the thermal pad on and make sure it's gently pressed onto there so it's stuck on. And then from here you would slide the heatsink over and you would make sure it's all in place, and then the screw would hold it down here. So that's how you would do it if you were using the included heatsink. And like I said, it's as simple as just angling it in the slot like this and giving it a wiggle, and then you'd hold down the SSD and you would gently screw it in. Now it doesn't need to be that tight. As soon as it's pinched, that's fine. As long as the SSD is held in place fine. That's how you would install the SSD if you didn't have your own heatsink. And now moving over to our main PC, so this is an AM5 board and this is the X870F from Asus. Now as you can see, we've got a lot of heat sinks. All these here are heat sinks for the SSDs. So is this one here. This one currently has a Samsung 980 Pro in, and that's going to be kept as our boot drive. So the 2TB drive will be actually used mainly for video editing and projects like that. So we're going to be popping it in underneath this heatsink right here. So as you can see, this whole plate lifts off, and you can see our Crucial P3 Plus here, which is actually going to be removed because that's going to be used for another PC. And like I said, in this example, we have the built-in heat sinks, so we're not going to need to put on the one that comes with it. And every motherboard will be slightly different. Like this one here has these random tabs here which kind of lock it all in place, and that's completely fine if yours isn't the exact same. If yours is still a screw with the heatsink screwing it down, that's completely fine. It's pretty straightforward no matter what motherboard you have. The only difference is if you've got heatsinks or don't have heatsinks, that's when you need to use what's provided with this SSD. And it's also important that you take off any of the pills for the thermal pads. But now that we've got the new drive installed, as well as a replacement drive for the Crucial, we can pop this all back in and screw it into place. And that is the steps for how to install the SSD. Alright, so for you guys that are installing a drive for the first time, you will see in File Explorer that your new drives are not showing up, and that's because you need to format the drive. So what you need to do is search for format, and then click on create and format hard disk partitions. Inside of here you will see your drives listed, but they will have a black bar across them. What you need to do is right click on each drive and select new simple volume. You then go ahead and select the drive letter, as well as you can rename the drive. Once you follow the steps, the drive will now appear in File Explorer when you search for it. The next thing we'll be doing is checking the speeds in Crystal Disk Mark, and I will actually be putting on screen a comparison to the Samsung 980 Pro that I have as my boot drive. And as you can see, the advertised speeds on the box are actually pretty accurate, with our read speeds being at around 7,400, as well as our write speeds being about 6,280 megabytes. So judging by the Crystal Disk Mark info, it seems that this drive is definitely as fast as they say it is, and that the speeds are what you expect them to be. Now let's talk more in depth about the specs and features of the ORICO IG740 Pro. As mentioned, extremely fast read and write speeds, up to 7,450 megabytes read, as well as 6,500 megabytes write. 2TB capacity built on TLC NAND with endurance rated at 1,200 TBW. 1,200 TBW on an SSD means that the drive is warranted to be able to withstand 1,200 terabytes of data written to it over its lifespan. TBW stands for terabytes written, and it's a measurement of how much data a drive can handle being written to it before the memory cells begin to degrade. Industrial grade design with MTBF over 1.5 million hours. MTBF in SSDs stand for mean time between failures. It's a metric used to estimate the average time a device will operate without failure. This drive also features AES encryption, LDPC ECC, and power loss protection. This drive is compatible with many devices. It works with PCs, laptops, industrial systems, and it's officially compatible with the PS5 console. You can actually purchase this drive designed for PS5 in mind, with a much larger heatsink to provide sufficient cooling, but that does come at a cost. Overall, I think this drive offers great performance at a great price, but my biggest question is, why should people choose a brand they've never heard of over the likes of companies like Samsung or Crucial? Until ORICO become a name that's thrown out there all the time when people are mentioning SSDs, people are often going to choose the bigger companies like Samsung, Crucial, there's many others out there, and they'll choose them because they know that they're reliable and they've heard of these companies before. So until ORICO build up enough reputation to be classed as a reliable option for SSDs, I think most people will end up choosing companies that they've heard of before. But if you're after ultra fast storage that won't slow down under heavy use, with industrial reliability and full PS5 compatibility, the ORICO IG740 Pro is a very compelling option. It's a robust, versatile storage upgrade for gamers, creators and power users alike. Anyway, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of this drive, and if you're someone that's used ORICO's drives in the past, drop a comment down below and give me your opinion on their SSDs. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all soon.